Okay, ladies, listen. We're in for a treat. Rebbetzin Feldman. Rebbetzin Feldman has been an integral part of our Amatz conferences. We're so grateful to her. Rebbetzin Feldman's a very busy Rebbetzin in Atlanta, Georgia. And she's the woman who started the Tamima High School, and such an incredible mechaneches. And she doesn't only teach her students, but she teaches us so much every single time we spend time with her. So before I introduce and ask Rebbetzin Feldman to come up, next door, what we did was we ordered fleshik sandwiches to go for you. Okay, that's because I know a lot of you are supper time. You don't have your flights until later, but there's also rolls and tuna and egg salad and cream cheese if you want to have milchik lunchtime. Okay, so in other words, you have both options. You should just know that we'll make sure we have takeaway containers there, and you'll be able to take care of that. And Amir Hashem, everyone should be able to travel home safely. What did you want? What? Okay. If you were intrigued or enjoyed my class about the 6 constant mitzvos, this is the material that we developed for our curriculum. If this is something that you want to, if it's something that moved you and you want your teachers and your talmidos to become knowledgeable in it and to have it be part of their, to part of them, we have a sample of the curriculum here for you to look at. We also have a school that's doing it in middle school. In TAG, Bacha Krasnow is working on it in middle school. So even though it was written for high school, it can be adapted to middle school. So I encourage each and every one of you to think about, is this something that you want to be able to invest in your time and in your efforts with your students? Because I know for us, it has changed our lives completely. And we also have USBs here for sale. You can talk to Fegi about many different classes of basic foundational hashkafa that are so beneficial for your teachers to listen to, and just to listen to these classes and to get more of a comfort zone in being able to understand how to explain topics that they might not be necessarily comfortable with explaining. So we have those 2 options for you. I wanted to make sure that you understood that we have the curriculum on the Sheish Mitzvos Tamidios that is being taught in 12 schools, Baruch Hashem, and we're looking for many, many more to be able to train the teachers and to teach it to give it to the girls. It's based on project-based learning, which means that it's centered on the students. The students have to work on it. And I will tell you that Tzipi, Michelle, and I, the way we learned the 6 constant mitzvahs was we had to invest our own efforts and understanding of our own lives into this. Because it's not something that you could just memorize. It's not a memorization. As you could hear from my presentation, this has to be something that you think about all the time and you figure out how this is going to work in your lives. And our children, more and more, now need the ability to be able to have a tool to work on their relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu in a meaningful way. So without further ado,
I'm sorry. On our website, amatz.org, is available for free, if just upon request, a sample mitzvah of the curriculum. So a sample mitzvah and a sample of the student reflection journal that goes along with that mitzvah. With every mitzvah, we provide a separate student reflection journal. And you can just go on our website and request it, and it'll be sent to you pretty much automatically, and you can look at it. I just do recommend. Chayaleah Edelman will give you a full description, and her. Thank you. It's also in Yiddish now. We had it translated into Yiddish. So you can request either one and contact us for more information if it's something that, okay, without further ado, I'm sorry, Feldman. Yeah. You can imagine how this feels right now at the very end of these unbelievable days and these beautiful words that we've heard. I feel so filled up, like there's no room. At the end of a big meal, big Yom Tov meal, you can't eat another bite. That's how I feel right now. Kenai Nahar, this has just been so amazing, and I just, I have to say also, I know Rebbetzin Schoolmaker said this, other people said it,
I don't have anything to tell you that you don't already know. I'm afraid I'm going to tip on this. Just move up. I'm just going to trip on that as I fall. No, I have to be able to look at the phone. All right, just move up. Okay, fine. Everybody here has a tremendous amount to say, and I don't think that I'm the one that knows anything that you don't know. I just have to say that. But what I want to do is wrap up everything that we've heard and also give you a slightly different angle on things, because as part of my career of chinuch, I've also been a Rebbetzin for a long time. So I think that maybe I can give you something to hear and see that you haven't thought about before. So let's, if you don't mind, the first one. Okay, so when I was speaking to Tzippi, when she was talking about this conference, I asked her what the theme of the conference was, and she said, it's the tripod of chinuch, parents, teachers, and students. And so I took that very seriously. If that's what she said it is, that's what I'm going to do. So just over here, I just want to show you something that you should be aware of. Here's the tripod. Okay, there's the parents, teachers, and the students. And as you can see, it's a little bit out of balance. It's always going to be out of balance. The job of the principal is to be the fulcrum. This over here in the middle, those of you who teach science in your schools, which the girls need to know, will understand that this is the fulcrum. And the fulcrum is that which enables it to move up and down, and that will manage it and keep it somewhat stable. Even if it's down, up, it won't hit the ground over here, won't hit the ground over here. The fulcrum will manage it. That's what the principal has to do, and it's not an easy job. You will note also that I have very faintly two girls. I have Sarala and I have Chanala. As we go through this, we're going to understand Chanala and Sarala a little bit better. Again, I don't have the answers. I can't tell you what to think, but my hope is that we can discuss together and see how to apply what we're talking about to what you have to do on a daily basis. Nightly basis also. Okay, the tripod is less like a stable structure and more like a balancing act. So that's what you're doing as a principal. Can anybody relate to that? That you're doing a balancing act all the time. Okay, next please. Let's take a look at what that balancing act looks like, okay? We have a tug of war. That's funny, it didn't show up. There's a background of a person holding, people pulling a rope. That is really funny. This is our tug of war. And this we have to take very, very seriously. With what Rebbetzin Schoonmaker said about Nosei Ba'ol and what Liba was just talking about, let's very quickly go through the things that we are trying to integrate together and that we're trying to accomplish all the time. Let's look at the parents, what they want, okay? They want their children to succeed. They will do whatever they can to protect their children, as they should. They don't want to hear problems about their children. They will often shift responsibility to the teacher or the administration. It's not my child, it's you, it's your school, it's your teacher, it's her fault. I'm sure you're familiar with that too. They have financial and family pressures. People have so much going on in their lives. And talk about the anxiety and the depression and the shalom bias problems and the illnesses and the mental health and all of that. We all know what's going on. So they're trying to protect their children in the middle of this maelstrom that's going on around them. It's frightening. They have difficulty enforcing homework after a day in school. And especially once your child is a teenager, you can't force them to do things. You can encourage them, you can support them, you can promise them rewards, but you can't get them to, you can't even get them to go to bed, right? I'm sure that those of you who have teenage children realize it's over. You can't get them to go to sleep on time. So our job as a principal is to validate these parents, understand them, and get where they're coming from. Because otherwise they feel like the enemy. And we don't want that to happen. That will undermine everything we're trying to do. Teachers, this is so important because I guess because we assume that teachers are very professional. And I want to say something here. I hope this doesn't upset anybody, but when I was a young woman and people decided to become a teacher, they knew they wouldn't be paid, and it was a very, very idealistic I'm one of the teachers. Things have shifted a little bit in this door. Like my experience, when you hire a teacher, they want to know right away what they're going to be paid, and they want to know what their hours are, and if they're going to spend any extra time, they need to be paid for it. So it's a different Zugang to what being a teacher means, and we have to understand that too. But let's hear what's at stake for a teacher, okay? For instance, I'll give an example. A kid works hard on a project, and she gets a bad grade. And so from the parent's perspective, the teacher should change the grade because she should understand that the student has worked so hard. From the teacher's perspective, I have professional standards. I want to be known as a teacher who's demanding, and the children learn a lot, and I'm not going to let go of my professional standards. And if I change your daughter's grade, the other girls in the class will know, and then they'll never work hard because they won't take it seriously. How can you ask me to do that? And then from the student's perspective, I put effort into this, and I only got this 65. What do you want from me? I'm going to give up. And the parents saying, you're going to make my daughter give up. I'm sure you've all experienced this tremendously. Let's take a look at the mind of the teacher and the experience of the teacher. She has professional standards. She has to deal with large classes, and in those large classes are children with needs. More children with needs than ever before. Sometimes it's half the class now. Used to be every class had one, maybe two kids that had learning disabilities or issues. Now it's at least half the class. I mean, that's been my experience. The teachers want to teach, they want to give, they need the support of the administration, and they need appreciation from parents. Parents often forget. There will be the one or two who say something to you, but most of the time, if things are good, parents won't say anything. If there's a problem, they're jumping on you immediately. And often they'll go to the administration first before they talk to you. And the teacher will say, why didn't the parent talk to me directly? They spend a tremendous amount of time on preparation. They're not paid for prep time. In the last few years, we had started paying in our school for 2 prep periods a week because in high school, people are preparing a lot. And I think that helped, but it wasn't enough. They have financial and family pressures, and they don't feel financially compensated. You relate to all of this, right? It all makes sense. Students, every kid wants to succeed. Every kid wants to do well. But on top of the academic pressures, there's a lot of social pressure, especially as they get into high school, right? Starting the 9th grade and the 10th grade. And there's so much social pressure. Sometimes you can't even think because you're so worried about whether you have friends and whether you're a part of things. Learning and attention difficulties, as we said, more and more of those. Anxiety and depression, as Rebbetzin Schoonmaker was talking about last night. We're dealing with people that can't overcome their anxiety. I remember one time at Erev Shabbaton, there was a new girl who came to our school. Her family had just moved to Atlanta. And the morning of the Shabbaton, the bus was outside and the girls were loading up the bus. And this girl comes to me. She had an anxiety problem. She says, I can't go. She's breathing like that. And I said, okay, no problem. If you can't go, I'll call your mother. She'll pick you up. It's okay. She said, no, because the girls in my class will know. So what is she going to do? She's so anxious she can barely breathe. And she doesn't want to let down the girls in her class because she's new and they have to think well of her. So I said to her, all right, would you like to go in and we can explain to your friends together that this is something physical, you can't really help it, and you get scared and you get anxious. She said, yeah, let's do that. So what's funny is this class, before they came into the school, this 9th grade, I was told by so many people that they are bullies, that there's all these cliques in the class, that nobody could break through the cliques. I was afraid to have those girls come to school. And when I went in with that girl that morning into that class, they're all excited about the Shabbaton. The bus is outside, and me and the girl explained to them that this beautiful new girl, Eliana, she wants to be part of the class. You've welcomed her so beautifully, but she has a little bit of a problem. It's called anxiety, and sometimes she can't help it. It gets hard for her to breathe, and etc. And she doesn't want to not be at the Shabbaton. She wants to be with you, but she can't come this time. And Amir Tashem, as she gets used to school and used to you, she'll be able to participate. So I was scared about how they would react. They were unbelievable. The minute I stopped explaining it, they started calling out, Eliana, we understand. Don't worry. We're going to tell you all about it when we come back. And they came over to her. They gave her hugs. These were girls. These were the bullies. These were the bullies. So each kid, they have so many pressures on them, and physiological, emotional, academic. They want to play, or when they're older, they have a lot of distractions. They don't want to do work. I feel the same way sometimes. I really understand them. You can never put me in a classroom again. There's no way I could sit through a classroom anymore. It's too hard. There's too much going on. They need care and support from teachers and parents. If we could hone in on each kid and give them what they need so they can start to improve and start to see success, we can save them from so much. They have pressure to measure up, sometimes to measure up at home. If they are very gesundheit, if they're very successful parents, the parents without realizing it are putting a pressure on them to get good grades. Sometimes they have to measure up in school in all different ways, and there are often problems at home. So what is the job of the principal? We have to validate the parents. We have to appease the parents. We have to support the teachers and understand where they're coming from. We have to give them the appreciation and the guidance and the belief in them that they need. And we have to address every single girl's issues and understand where she's coming from. This is a lot to ask. This is a big job. So I want to say the following to you because I think this is really important. I'm going to just share a personal thing that happened in my life. And then I'll tie it together. So since I was married and before I was married, I was always a teacher. And then I got married, and my husband had a dream of becoming a Rav. He wanted to help Klal Yisrael. He came home from yeshiva, from the Mir in Eretz Yisrael, and he had a dream he's going to just help Klal Yisrael. And he convinced me, and I thought it was a good idea. So we got married. And after some years in Kola, we came to Atlanta. After we had been in Atlanta for 2 years, my husband, as the assistant Rav at that time, was in charge of the preschool. The shul had a preschool. Please understand, there was almost nothing in Atlanta. It was a midbar. It was a midbar. I think there was another woman whose husband taught in the community day school. She wore a sheitel. There was a Chabad woman. She wore a sheitel. There was me, and there was one other woman. I think there were 4 of us who wore a sheitel. It was a big deal, which I would love to talk about another time. After we were there 2 years, there were a couple of from people that were there, and our preschool had general studies in the morning and Judaic studies. We didn't say Limudei Chol and Limudei Kodesh, no. Judaic studies, general studies. The Judaic studies were in the afternoon. And some people wanted to send their little ones just to the afternoon because they didn't want to pay for a whole day, and they felt the 3-year-old doesn't need to be in school a whole day. I'll send them in the afternoon. So the people that were living in Atlanta at that time, like the board and other people and the head of the preschool, they were traditional, you know. They didn't understand what Limud Kodesh really means to a little child. And they saw this as an attempt to make everybody frum and right-wing and all of that. And it became such a tararam, I can't even tell you. It was like, oh boy, they're going to make everybody end up wearing black hats, and they're going to make us sit separate at this and at this and at this. It was unbelievable, and it was all directed at my husband, who was a young Rav and was just trying to accommodate some parents who wanted their children to learn Limudei Kodesh. It was really painful. People said such bad things. We're down there for 2 years. We're a young couple. In the middle of this all, I had a baby, and we added the name Aaron to him because of Ohev Shalom for Rodev Shalom. That's how bad it was. So my parents came down for a visit. My father was, as many people have shared about their fathers, he was really a very important person in my life. He was a Rosh Yeshiva in Ner Yisrael, and he was dealt with people around the world with all kinds of issues. He was an Ish Emes. So when we grew up, every word he said meant everything. My parents are there for a visit, and they're about to leave. And my father went out of the house to put some things into the car. And I ran out. I followed him out of the house. And he's there, and I'm on this little stoop in front of the house. And he's bending over to put something in the trunk. And I said, what do we do? What do we do? Or should we stay in Rabbanos? It's so hard. Should we be staying in this? Are we doing the right thing? What are we supposed to do? Because it had been so painful, you know? We were just trying to make good things happen, and it was so hard. And my father stood up, closed the trunk, and I remember how the sun was shining down on the car, and he turned to me, and he said, I don't know. Because he would never, ever tell a person what to do. Always, it's your shikol hadas. Let's talk about what is relevant, what you need to know, but you always made the decision. Only once in my life did he tell me what to do. This time he didn't. He said, I don't know. But this I do know. Good Rabbanim are the light of Klal Yisrael. That moment, good Rabbanim are the light of Klal Yisrael. Now, you have to understand, please, that I grew up in the quarter century after the Holocaust. All around me, yeshivos were being built. People were teaching Torah. There was no kashrus commission. There was no, you looked at ingredients, and if it was kosher, okay, it was kosher. It was a different world. Vegetables shortening, right. It was a different world. In my home, what mattered was Klal Yisrael. There was nothing else. To my father, all that mattered was Klal Yisrael. He would go to South Africa to teach people there. He would go to England to teach people there. He would go to Eretz Yisrael. All that mattered was Klal Yisrael. So when he turned to me and said, good Rabbanim are the light of Klal Yisrael, that changed something inside of me, and I am telling you that it lasted me for 40 years. When he said that, I realized, nothing matters. Nothing matters. If I can be the wife of someone that's a light to Klal Yisrael, what? Okay, so I'll suffer. So it'll be hard. What? That's it. Woo! Whipped through everything. I was done. I continued to be a Rebbetzin for 40 years, and let me tell you, it's been challenging and beautiful and inspiring and hard. And I also taught and then became a principal. And I realized something, and this is very important. This is what I want to say to you, more than anything else. It's not just Rabbanim that are the light of Klal Yisrael. It's you. The Mechanchim are the light of Klal Yisrael. And you must know this. Why must you know it? Because there are two pieces of this. There's me as a person, and then there's the calling that has been put upon me. You know, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu speaks to Moshe and says, you're going to be the Moshiach, and Moshe argues with him, no, I'm not up to it, fine, we all feel that way. But when HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him, you're my Shaliach, you're going to save Klal Yisrael, Moshe is now a new person. He's not himself. And we have to know this. You are not just you. You are the light of Klal Yisrael, which means if Klal Yisrael is walking through a dark cave and they can't find the way out and you don't know where to go next, and somebody flicks a match and lights a candle and you're holding it up, and all of a sudden you can see where to go, that's what you're doing. You're the light of Klal Yisrael. You are the ones that will enable Klal Yisrael to continue. You're not you. Which means that in this new place where you have risen up above yourself, and I've seen this over the years in Rabbanos and in Chinuch all the time, you step up above the just human me, and now you're somebody that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will work through. You know, each person is considered a base kibul. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has tremendous shefa that he wants to pour onto every Jew. The question is what kind of a base kibul we each are. Because in order to receive shefa, bracha, you have to be a kli. So there's something that I've shown people before. I would walk in, and I've got a big jug of water. And I put a basin underneath it because I want to show them the shefa from HaKadosh Baruch Hu coming to fill you up. The first thing we use is a small water bottle with a narrow spout. What happens if you pour a lot of water from a big jug and there's a bottle with a narrow spout? What will happen? Maybe a drop or two will get into the bottle, and the rest goes all over the floor. Now, it's not just that the bottle isn't getting the water, it's damaging the floor. The shefa is ready to come. So now I'll take another bottle with a slightly bigger spout, and I'll pour again out. This time, okay, a lot of it gets into the bottle, but there's still a lot spilling on the floor. Here's the thing. Because we have this mission that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has assigned to each and every one of us, we can become a base kibul, and that's up to us. What kind of a base kibul will I be? And what will affect my becoming a proper base kibul? This is something we have to think about. We are now in a position of holding the light up for Hashem's children, for all of Klal Yisrael. I need to become a base kibul, and I need to understand why I have to become a base kibul, and I need to understand what I'm doing. All of the ideas that we share are fantastic, and the support that we give each other is fantastic. And I have to say that Tzippi, Michelle, and Liba somehow got this, that you're the light of Klal Yisrael. And what they do, I think, is to support you and get the message across to you that you are that light. Once you know you're that light, nothing matters. I remember once sitting at my desk just reading through some emails, answering emails. And there was one woman, a very wonderful woman, but she would send me the nastiest emails. It's like she knew what are my trigger points and what can I possibly say that will hurt her deeply. We'll go into that another time. She really is a wonderful woman. We all are like that in some ways, okay? So I remember I read this email and it was so painful, I just put my head down on the desk. That's what I did. I literally put my head on the desk and just, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do. But you know what? Even that doesn't matter because I take a stand for HaKadosh Baruch Hu because I am a light for Klal Yisrael. Now, can you just do the next one, please? So here it is, the light of Klal Yisrael, the Mechanechim. It is imperative for the Mechanechim to see and understand the big picture of where Klal Yisrael is holding. I am not talking about each of ours school, community, our little parochial world that we're living in. Because you are the light of Klal Yisrael, you must understand the big picture of where Klal Yisrael is holding. Because to walk into a situation, and like if a therapist walks into a situation and doesn't know the parents and the experiences and the trauma, and then they try to do therapy, they're going to do damage. And I don't know that we as principals get enough of a picture of what the entire macro view of Klal Yisrael is. So we have to know. Now, we're dealing with this tripod that we're trying to manage, to balance it. The challenge of a tripod, if one leg is too short or too long, the whole structure wobbles, correct? But when you're talking about parents, teachers, and students, there's no way to make all the legs be the same, right? You can't possibly ever do that. As a leader, is it my job to keep the legs equal or to adjust the ground they stand on? I don't even know if I can adjust the ground they stand on. But as the principal, the whole school will be who I am. Like a mother in a home. You go into different homes, and there's a different atmosphere, a different feeling in every home, right? And you know why? Because it depends on the mother. And you can see a mother who's tense and anxious. The children are mother who's calm, and I know it's hard all the time to be. I'm just saying that in every home, the mother is the atmosphere. It's the same thing in a school. So maybe I can say that in my school, can I adjust the ground by creating a foundation of something? And how can I adjust the ground? But I can't adjust the ground unless I know what I'm dealing with. Are there hurricanes? Are there earthquakes? Is there a sinkhole? I can, build on an area until you find out what's the foundation over there. Now, we are dealing with a world that is sinking, that is exploding. The ground is not secure or foundational anywhere. Let's take a look at the next piece. This is very, very important. The next, yeah, please. Okay. This is a macrovision piece. I'm going to share this with you, and I'm asking you please to keep, it's called Einayim Lir'os. When one of my daughters was little, she had a very narrow jaw, and she had to have what's called a Herbst appliance. I might have shared this with you before, I don't know. For me, it's something I always think about. The Herbst appliance is like a metal plate they put on the top of the mouth, and it has a little area, and every week you take a key that they give you and you insert it, and you turn it 1/4 turn. And over months and months and months, the jaw will expand as you turn it one. One time we lost the key, and my husband had to take a screwdriver and put it in and turn it a little bit. I took a picture of it because it looks like he's torturing her. It's a giant screwdriver in the middle of her mouth, and her father's going like this. But I think of this all the time because we have to hear some things we may not want to hear. I am going to report to you. I am not saying that I agree with it. I'm not saying I understand it. I'm not saying it's totally the way we're supposed to look at things. Do I have permission to share something with you that might be a little bit shocking? Okay, so I want to tell you about Rabbi Yom Tov Schwartz. You may not have heard about him. He was a gadol in Eretz Yisrael. He was born in 1921, and he was a child prodigy. He was actually born in Rebbetzin, I don't know how to pronounce it, which was later Auschwitz. He was born in that town. And he was so brilliant that by the time he was 15, he was in Yeshivas Chachmei Lublin. Now, I don't know if you know about what it took to get into Chachmei Lublin. It was an unbelievable thing. You had to know Masechtos by heart. It was a tremendous accomplishment. 15 years old, they put him in the highest shir, and one of the Rosh Yeshiva there used this young bacher to help him organize his chidushim for his sefer. That's the kind of person he was. The war starts, 1939. During the war, he was in 12 labor and concentration camps. He was in the war for 6 years, from 1939 till 1945. At the end of the war, he weighed 70 pounds. Every single day, from 1939 to 1945, he put on tefillin. Somehow, because this is what he dedicated himself to, in every concentration camp, he had a pair of tefillin. He would bury it under the sand, under the dirt. He would get up early in the morning, take out the tefillin from under the ground, put it on, put it back, and cover it up. As a matter of fact, one time a Nazi caught him and yelled at him and did nothing to him. Usually it was a death penalty. I'm assuming it's because he made a commitment to that mitzvah. Kodesh Baruch Hu protected him. So every single day, till the end of the war in the spring of 1945, when they were transferring all the Jews to new places because they were starting to lose, they transfer him so quickly that he can't go and dig up his tefillin. But when he gets to the new concentration camp, they had just brought a fresh load of Jews from Hungary because, they took them at the end of the war. And there was a teenager there, and he had a pair of tefillin. So Baruch Hashem, Rabbi Yom Tov Schwartz was able to put on tefillin. After the war, he's in a DP camp. And one day, it turns out, I don't know why, I don't know what happened, there were no tefillin. As I said, he weighed 70 pounds, and he was too weak to stand up. So he crawled to another DP camp over a kilometer. He crawled. Too weak to stand up, but he had to wear tefillin. So why am I telling you this? Because I'm going to tell you what he writes about, and it's hard to take. He subsequently got to Eretz Yisrael, where he was. He wrote many Sfarim. He was a giant Talmid Chacham, and he wrote a sefer called Einayim Lir'os, Eyes to See. I'm going to share with you very, very brief some of the things he says in there, and I'm going to say it in the way that he says it. And we don't have time for a whole lot of it, but I had to tell you first who he is so you can understand what he went through and his commitment to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to Torah and mitzvahs and love of Klal Yisrael, because he writes about tremendous Baalei Chesed during the war and everything also. So he was a young man in 1939. I guess he was born in 21, he was like 18. And that summer he went to speak to different Gedolim, because everybody could feel that something was happening. And he goes to the Bender Rav, Rav Levin, speaks to him, and he says the Bender Rav had a look on his face of horror and despair. And he started to talk. And he said, I don't understand this. We know what's happening. We know about Kristallnacht. Hitler, that demon, has made it very clear what he's going to do to the Jews if a war starts. Everybody knows. And we've done nothing. We've done nothing. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Moshe Rabbeinu says to Klal Yisrael, Sefer Devarim, V'lo nasan Hashem lachem, leiv lada'as, einayim lir'os, aznayim lishmoa. Hashem doesn't give you, He's not going to give you a heart to understand, and eyes to see, and ears to hear. And he says, we know, the Ramban talks about Yaakov Avinu, how he divided them into camps, so if this camp should be destroyed, this camp should run away. And the Ramban says, lahalacha, this is what we do at a time of suffering. Why are we not doing this, says the Ben Rav, and he wasn't the only one. He says, I'll tell you why we're not doing this. I'll tell you why, and he's screaming and crying. He says, because we can't even get all of the different factions of Jews in together in one room. What we need to do is get the Litvish, the Hasidish, the Rosh Yeshiva, the community leaders, the secular ones, the frum ones, everyone, get them into a room, Usashua Barov Yoetz. When people care about each other, and they want to help each other, and they love each other, they will come up with a plan. We have to run. And says, Rabbi Yom Tov Schwartz, in his Sefer, he says, imagine the Kiddush Hashem, if the Nazis had marched into Poland and Lita, and not one Jew was there. Imagine. And the Ben Rav is screaming and crying. And Rabbi Yom Tov Schwartz says, that vision of what he said and what he was looking at has stayed with me my entire life. And then he quotes the Chavas Das of Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz, and his Sefer Megillas Sarim, that he writes on Megillas Esther. And here's something you probably heard this before, but it applies here so beautifully. He says, Haman says to Achashverosh, listen, Yeshnu am echad mefuzar mefarad bein ha'amim. There's this nation, and they're spread out all over the place. They're not like one unit. And this is very good for us because since they're not together with each other and working together, they will be easy to eliminate. Because if they were together, they would come together and they'd make plans and they'd be able to escape our plans for them. So it's good that they are mifuzar and mifarad. And then Rav Schwartz quotes the Kli Yakar in Devarim, where the Kli Yakar says there are two ways that HaKadosh Baruch Hu saves Klal Yisrael from terrible, terrible things. One way is supernatural, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, those who are attached to Him, those who cling to His mitzvahs, Hashem will save them because that's what He does. He chooses to do it. The second way, he says, is teva. Hear this. What's the teva? V'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, says the Kli Yakar. When Klal Yisrael cares about each other and loves each other, the teva is Geula and Yeshua. That's the teva. Please hear this. It's not supernatural where HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes and does a nace and saves us. It's the way that was implanted in the world when we love each other appropriately, which means I respect you, I validate you, I hear you, I care for you. You are actually as important or more important than me. And I can take suffering on your behalf. Now I'm going to help you. Usashua Barovia waits when we're together. It is natural that we are saved. Says Rabbi Yom Tov Schwartz, did we learn nothing? He says, I saw God's wrath. Did we learn nothing? Amatuku od. Why should you be punished more? Tosifu Sarah. You did an Avera, you were horribly punished, and now you're still doing the Avera? Says Yeshaya Hanavi. You Jewish people, says Rav Schwartz, do you know that since the Shoah there is a new social order? He says, in Europe, there was one cheder and one Beis Yaakov in every city. All the boys went to one cheder. All the girls went to one Beis Yaakov. I'm not talking about the maskilim, okay? That's a different story. But in every community, there was one. And now, he says, and I guess he must have written this about 50 years ago. Now you see all the factions. Please, I'm reporting to you. I'm telling you what he says. And he says like this. Every faction has to be its own faction. And everybody in that faction has to dress a certain way. And from the time the child starts to speak, they live with the people in their group, and they marry people in their group, and that's what they do. And he says, what about Lo Cisco to do? How can you're continuing what happened? What do you think is going to happen to you? Did you learn nothing? He's so scathing and so strong. It's unbelievable. He says in Mitzrayim, they didn't dress like the Mitzrayim. They all dressed the same so they could look like Am Yisrael. And now we have people dressing differently? He says, and don't say, oh, before the war, the Hasidim dressed this way, the Litvaks dressed it. He said, no, wherever they lived, the Goyim made them dress in that way so that they would not stand out. It's frightening what he says. And now I want to ask you this. Listen, I'm not saying that, you know what? My husband gives a good mashal. You know, in the old days with the cowboys and Indians, I don't know if you know about this, but when the people used to go west, the Indians would attack them. You know about the covered wagon trains, right? They went on these covered wagons, and they would go out west with a whole, let's say, 100, 200 people together, and the Indians would come and shoot them with their arrows and try to kill them and scalp them. So what did they do? They made a circle out of the wagons, right? They circled, it's called circling the wagons. They circled the wagons. They're all inside the circle of the wagons, and they can shoot at the Indians and protect themselves. That's what's happening now. I am this kind of a Jew, and I'm afraid to hear you or really be involved with you because I might get tainted by you. And this is all L'Shem Shemayim. It's all L'Shem Shemayim. And it is. You know, this is another thing that Sippy, Liba, and Michelle did. When I came to that first Amat thing in Eretz Yisrael, and I saw Hasidic women, I was taken aback. Please, I don't mean anything bad. The last Hasidic person I had what to do with was a girl who moved to my class when she was in 12th grade, and by the end of the year, she had a big diamond ring on her finger because she was engaged. And that was fun for us. Wow, she's engaged, she's 17 years old, this is so exciting. Since then, I haven't really interacted so much with Hasidic women. So I came, and I was a little surprised. I'm embarrassed to say. And I come to this thing, and I talk about eyes being opened. They were so intelligent and insightful and Yarei Shamayim and fun and sweet and understanding of the kids. We ended up in a big hot tub with bubbles, and we were all sharing with each other, and it was so much fun, and I had such an ahava for them. And since then, every time I come, I want to hear every word out of their mouths. I never knew that because I was in my own yeshivish faction. And then I moved to Atlanta, and I'm in this midbar, and now guess what? I don't even belong in the yeshivish faction anymore. I don't know where I belong. That has been a big problem. But now I want to say this too. Please hear this too. We are living in a fragmented society. You all know, because you've dealt with children of divorce, what it means to live in something whole that gets fragmented. It's trauma. This, as my role as a Rebbetzin, I'm involved with horrific things. People in such pain that I don't know how they take in one breath. And the children are like this. And I want to say this. Am Yisrael is a whole being, and we're fragmented. We are all children of divorce. Every single one of us. You may have the best family in the world, but our people is broken and fragmented. And b'derech hateva, if we would draw together, we would have a Yeshua. And we say, Hashem, you have to bring the Yeshua, and you're doing this to us, and why do we have to suffer so much? Tyra Kind, I told you what to do. B'derech hateva. And this is affecting all of us all over the place. I have to tell you now about Sarala. You notice she's crying, she has tears coming down her face. This is a true story that happened this year. I get a call from a young woman in Eretz Yisrael that I've been involved with for many years. Her husband is a Rosh Kollel. She has been through so much illness of a child and everything. With such bitachon. I can't even tell you what a wonderful family they are. She has 10 children, K'nain Hara. Her 14-year-old this year got accepted into one of the very, very good Beis Yaakovs in Yerushalayim. By the way, I just want to say, I don't know what they should have done, so I am not saying anything bad about them. And I asked the Shaila if I'm allowed to tell this story because it might look bad for the Beis Yaakovs and Eretz Yisrael, and I was told that it's okay. Because I'm scared to say anything negative about any Yid, especially in Eretz Yisrael, because we have to be unified. But I'm not saying Lashon Hara because I understand this. Listen, she's 14 years old and she's interested and curious. She happens to be in a class that's also interested and curious. So the school discovered at the beginning of the year, in the first couple of weeks of school, that this is a class that sort of pushes the envelope a little bit. Just a little bit. They don't like that. Because we all know about the factionalism in our schools, how many of us have had to deal with kids that are messing up other kids. Come on, this is something we have to deal with, and you can't accept this kid, and it's ugly. They're having a problem with this class. Sometimes their skirt would be a little bit short or this or that. And parents were complaining about some of the girls in the 9th grade. Then this little girl named Bracha, that's really her name. We're calling her Sarala. Sorry, Sarala. She takes this stuff called Sun In. You put it in your hair. It's not a dye, but it makes the sun lighten the highlights. Lemon, whatever it is. Okay, this is what her mother tells me. She comes, her mother sees, oh my gosh, what did she do? She said, her mother says to me, I knew I should have taken her right away to get her hair dyed black, because if they see this in school, it's going to be a problem. But she's 10 children, she's busy, she didn't take care of it. The girl goes to school with the sun in her hair. The school is looking, according to the mother, for a scapegoat. They expel the girl from the school. This is shortly after Sukkot. 9th grade, beginning of the year, expel the girl. Parents, the parents sit down with her, they explain. She says, I want to stay in the school. So they said, you know what? Let's go and tell them you're going to do teshuvah. You're going to follow all of the rules. You want to be in the school. Let's go and talk to them. Is there such a thing? Oh, I don't. Yeah. So they go to the school and they tell the school, our Sarala says she wants to be here. She wants to grow. She is going to follow every single rule in and out of school. They said, nope, sorry, we won't take her back. She has now been out of school since after Sukkot. And now, instead of saying, no other Beis Yaakov will take her because why did they kick her out? Must be something wrong with her. So she cannot be accepted anywhere. And now, of course, what do you think has happened? She's angry. She's resentful. This is how they treated me. I'm such a bad person. I don't want that anyway. And now she wants to go to this school, which is not according to how they want her to grow up. This is what fragmentation causes. You have to be exactly like me and look exactly like me. And not only that, we are better than HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, if you look at his midos, Mikel Kamocha, no say avon, he gives us chance after we do damage and destructive forces in the world, and he still gives us a chance. She goes to the school and she says, I want to do teshuvah. I want what you're offering. No. This is fragmentation. And we have to understand that the ground that we're trying to clear so that the tripod can stand on it is rolling up and down. It's an earthquake. You know the aftershocks? I don't know if you've ever been in an aftershock. The ground, literally, you have nowhere to stand. That's what Klal Yisrael is standing on now. So we have to just know that we have to be aware of this. This is important for us to know. And if you're the light of Klal Yisrael, you have to deal with this, and you have to make it work. And I believe you can. I have seen it work. I believe you can make it work. I believe we can become really the light of Klal Yisrael and bring everything together so that all constituents are pulled together, integrated, so that there can be growth for parents, teachers, and students. I have seen it happen. But first, we just have to look at the next one, please. I don't know what the time is because I don't have a watch. Okay, so I was going to do this as a workshop, and I was going to ask you, which we're not going to do because we don't have the time, how can we understand Rav Schwartz's approach in light of the Torah world today, with different groups who are trying to build their own place. They are circling the wagons, but they're trying to protect their children and raise them in a good way. How do we understand it? Do we relate to this approach? Is it important to hear what he is saying? And is there anything we can or should do to address this issue? The problem is, I don't know if we have time to have the discussion. I was going to ask you to talk to each other and then report, but it's okay. It's just, okay. So ladies, please take 2 minutes now. Take 2 minutes. What Reb Schwartz says is very in your face and very disturbing. Just take 2 minutes and think about it, and then each table will report. Okay? So just discuss that. Okay, ladies? Ladies, the question really is, ladies, the question is not, okay, what are the answers? The question is not what are the answers. The question is, how does this land on you? What do you think? So does anybody want to say, ladies, remember, as the fulcrum on the tripod, it is our job to make the ground steady and straight so the tripod can stand on there. You understand that? Now we heard from Rabbi Yom Tov Schwartz something very difficult. Alma tuku od tosifu sarah. Why you've been punished? 6 million people died in ovens, and you're still doing the same thing. That's not me saying it, that's Rabbi Yom Tov Schwartz. I just want to know, because we are still looking at this, we're going to add another piece. What do you think about what he says? Please raise your hand if somebody represent the table, or let's hear what you think, because now we're going to go on to another piece. Let's discuss this first.
I just want to say, I mean, he went through, I mean, who am I to say anything? But like, there is a concept in Klal Yisrael of 12 Shvatim, and everyone has their own minhagim and their own gang. It doesn't mean we're not friends and we don't work together, but there are different drachim in Klal Yisrael, and it brings a beautiful symphony to.
My husband often says that people get confused and thinks that unity is the same thing as uniformity. And that we all know that there needs to be different types of school for different girls. Like, we need to teach each child the way that they should learn, and we need that. We need variety in Klal Yisrael, but we need to each respect each other as another unit in Hashem's army. I'm not, you know what I mean? And on an equal level. That there are different drachim for different components of Klal Yisrael, and as long as we don't need to all exactly look the same, but as long as we know that this derech needs to be part of Klal Yisrael, it's very important.
I hear what you're saying, but he's not agreeing with that. What does he say? He's saying that there should, when I was a girl in Beis Yaakov, Baltimore, and then when we moved to Toronto, I lived in Toronto, there was one Beis Yaakov for everybody. Good, I'm just saying, all together. All together. There were kids in my class that were not from and weren't Shomer Shabbos. I'm just saying. I know. I just want to know what you think. I'm not arguing either way. Just please, who wants to say something? Rena.
So I have a larger question that I don't have the answer to, which is there's a lot of dysfunction in Klal Yisrael. There's a lot of dysfunction in families, and very often those dysfunctions, the families and all the problems, show up at our doorsteps. And I'm not commenting on this son-in situation. I don't know this situation. And I don't want to join the crowd of like bashing schools that I don't know and I just don't know. But I think there are very often, it's like the kids come to us and they come with the admission file, and you look at the case and you're like, I don't know how this kid will mesh with the other situation. I had a student who applied, a stepsister of another student, where the girls live half with the father who's from and half with the mother who's not Shomer Shabbos. and then please come to our school and be in the school with everybody else. And we, with Das Torah, said no. And we have the stepsisters who are with the full from, but we don't have the other stepsisters who are the same grade. And it's like there are many, many stories like this. I had another mother who showed up and she says, I'm not Shomer Shabbos because I need to work on Shabbos to pay for tuition, but you should take my daughter because she's Shomer Shabbos. Like there's a lot of this. And the question is, I think, to go to administrators and say, your job is to love all of Klal Yisrael and care for all the neshamos of Klal Yisrael. Yes, we want to care for neshamos, and but we also practically know that research shows that teenagers work in packs and they copy each other and they influence each other and their behavior is contagious. It's just a reality. So how do we navigate and take care and do what's right? And this is not just an educated problem. It's a Klal Yisrael issue.
We are a divorced family. Let's face it. Who Liba?
So when I grew up, we had girls in my class whose mothers covered their hair, didn't cover their hair. Some wore pants, some didn't wear pants. I knew there was one girl that I could visit on Shabbos. They were not Shomer Shabbos. My family said, you can't eat in their house. It's not a kosher house. It doesn't mean you can't play with them. You just have to know this is not, they don't know yet. My father used to say, you have to feel bad for them. They don't know enough. You know more. You're lucky, you know. You have a gift and they don't. What I feel has happened, and this is just my observation again, is that unfortunately, so many of us are working out of fear. I try to get girls, because I'm involved with so many of you, I get calls all the time to get kids into school, like this story. And I have to rewrite the narrative of that girl to get her to a school. And I hear the tones of fear and trepidation and panic coming out of the mechanchim. And I say to myself, don't you realize that the subliminal messaging that you're giving to the kids is so much more powerful than the overt messaging? Why are you so worried about that one kid bringing down the whole class? Why don't you have confidence and faith that your whole class will bring that one girl up? And I feel, and you can argue with me, I'm not a mechaneches, I'm not a menaheles, it's true. I'm telling you as an observation that it's in life experience, what made me stronger was knowing who I was and my values and what my family, I am lucky. I am lucky that my parents gave me that, and I think we have the ability, if we're smart and if we open our eyes, to be able to give our kids in our schools the confidence, because look what's happening out there. Every one of you knows that you have talmidos who leave your school at 12th grade looking one way, and look at them 5 years later, or 8 years later, or 10 years later. It's very, very different. I have friends in Eretz Yisrael, the girls who are married to boys who are sitting and learning look dramatically different than they used to look. Dramatically different. The question is, what are we instilling in them the confidence to know, I am lucky to be this? And if she is living like that, and I'm wondering why they didn't allow your school to try out that kid for a while. Take her in, give her tremendous love, so to the point where her mother's going to want to become Shomer Shabbos. Why is it an automatic no? I don't understand. I don't. You have a powerful school. You have Torah. You have Tefillah. You have Midos. That's my question. Sorry.
So I just want to add something to what Liba said. Very, very well said. How many of us know of stories of schools that gave that kid a chance and what happened to that kid? How many stories do we know of people that are longstanding members of our community and they were thrown out of so many schools, but there was one school that accepted them, and that's who they are today? And I just want to add a personal thing. My husband told me this story. He couldn't get into high school. He was such a troublemaker in 8th grade, and no one wanted to accept him, and he was really at risk. He went to Ezra Academy. He still remembers. Rabbi Freilich told him, you are on probation this semester, the first semester. Your grades must be amazing. Your attendance must be amazing. It's in your hands. And he said once he was in, he worked hard for his admission, but he had that chance. And he had a yeshiva education. And he lived, hopefully, yeah, Mirza Hashem, he lived that.
I just want you to know, quick. One girl who they said her mother is crazy, her father is crazy, she was not in school. It's a whole great story. I could tell it to you if you have 15 minutes. But she was not in school for the entire 6th grade, and I wanted to get her into school for 7th grade, and every single Minahelis that I spoke to said, I don't know what she did the whole year last year. I can't bring her into my school. I don't know what she's going to do. And I had to rewrite the narrative on her. And one school accepted her in a certain town, and one school accepted her, and with conditions. She needs this, she needs that, she needs a shadow, she needs a P3, she needs a And the first report card, I got a text message with a picture of the first. So she came into the school, and the first day she came in was 7th grade, and one of the girls came over to her and said, and it was after Sukkot. She didn't get in it. Of course, they made her sweat it out until after Sukkot. Okay, even though I started in the summer. And she came in, and it was after Sukkot, and one of the girls came over to her and said, "You're the new girl in the class?" She said, "Yes." She says, "You're going to love our class. We're all friends in this class." And I got a picture of the first report card. Talmida nehederet. Talmida mitzuyenet. Yeah, they just had to give her a chance. So here.
Can I just give you like a little bit of a source on this? So there's this woman in Eretz Yisrael. Her name is Tzili Schneider. Anyone heard about her? Kesher Yehudi. So she started, I think it was about 15 years ago, she started like a Partners in Torah between secular Israeli women and from Israeli women. Now it like morphed into a huge organization where she took all the hostage families and she gave them Shabbosim, and it was amazing. But she told me this story herself, that when she started this organization, she was very concerned that who says the from women are going to be an influence on the non-from women? Maybe it's going to be the non-from that are going to have a bad influence on the from women. That's all our concern, right? How can I take this person into my house? How can I expose my kids? I'm going to expose my kids, and I can't expose my kids, and I can't. Our kids are exposed, but that's beside. Anyway, so she went into Rebbe Yashiv, Zechat Tzadik Livracha, herself. She said, by the way, she was sitting there and talking to him, and the Gabbai was Rebbe Yashiv's nephew, and he kept coming because it was a whole line of people, and he threw out. He told his nephew, "Leave me alone. She's here for Klal Yisrael. Give her as much time as she needs." So he explained to her, and I heard this from her firsthand. He said, first of all, Katuv sheha'or doche et ha'choshech, lo katuv shehachoshech doche et ha'or. It says that the light will expel darkness. It does not say darkness. Okay, that's A. He said another thing. And I don't remember the lashon of the Gemara. I asked my husband a bunch of times, and it doesn't go into my head. There is a halacha, there's a shaila, if you're salting meat, and it draws the blood out, right? So there's a shaila if, let's say, a piece of meat that's being salted falls on top of another piece of meat that's being salted, maybe the blood that's being drawn out of the top piece of meat is going to enter the bottom piece of meat, and it's going to render it treif. Is it kosher or is it treif? And the lashon the Gemara answers, I don't remember, it's in Aramaic. So he said, no. He said, you cannot, it's kosher, because you cannot expel and absorb at the same time. When you are expelling, you cannot absorb. So if you are expelling Kedusha, he told her, if you are busy expelling Kedusha, you cannot absorb Tumah, and if anybody does, it's because they weren't out to expel Kedusha. They would have been absorbing the Tumah a different way. They would have been doing it anyway, but a person that has that intention and has that obligation, and when the kids feel like they are making a Kiddush Hashem, and let's invite these kids in. Let's show them who we are. Let's show them a beauty of Yiddishkeit. Let's show them the value of who we are and the kind of life we have, and how happy we are with who we are. There is nothing more powerful, not just for the ones that are less, but nothing more powerful for the kids that are doing it. Because I could just have to say that if I ever brought, and I did, people into my house for Shabbos that didn't look like us and didn't act like us and weren't even Shomer Shabbos, the Shabbos that we gave them changed my kids. They changed my kids because they were suddenly able to see how fortunate they are and how lucky they are, how much those others are curious about our lives, and how they're thirsty for what we have. There is no greater immunization shot that we get. And I know it's a really hot topic now. I shouldn't say vaccinations, but the science of it is when we vaccinate our kids, we are injecting the virus in a controlled setting, and then they become immune. So if we inculcate in our kids their value, their love for who they are, and then we let them be out there, make a Kiddush Hashem, they're the ones.
I want everybody to say, but I'd like to interject something over here. Just the 2 points here that I think are important. There, because we don't know what the right thing is exactly. Like, Rena was saying we don't want them to have impact on the other teenagers. They're all traveling in a pack. That's true. On the other hand, the Talmud Devorah says, Kol haneshamos kululos yachad. All Kol Yisrael she'er ze im ze. Every Jew is a physical relative of every other Jew. Yesh bazeh chelek ze, v'yesh bazeh chelek ze. You and I share. You have a piece of me, and I have a piece of you. Let's keep that in mind. One other point that I have to make, because I have been in Rabbanos for over 40 years. There are children of these Kiruv Rabbanim, who are amazing Rabbanim, who have gone off the derech. Because we're looking at every piece, let's look at every piece. Let's understand the ground is shaking, we are fragmented. And by the way, the children of the wonderful people who take in people who aren't from are also children of this divorced unit called Klal Yisrael. We can't be sure. There are no guarantees. And I think everything Tzippi you did and said is unbelievable, and I believe it 100%. I also believe what I've seen with my own eyes, that these kids of these Rabbanim who get disenfranchised and run off. It's all true. Yes, I don't know who to give this to next, but you're here.
Yehi lerutzain imraifi v'hegen dibi lefenechu Hashem tziri v'gayali. So thank you for opening such a controversial topic. I have nothing to add, but I'm very fortunate enough to be the daughter-in-law of one of the biggest mechanchim today. His name is Reb Shlomo Greenbaum. He was the dean of Yeshiva Spring Valley Boys and Girls School for many years. So he guides us a lot. And when Rebbetzin Dina was talking about understanding someone else's metzias, I was thinking of my shver, who is a chaniak of a chusid. I don't even know if you know the word chaniak means. A feyedige Hasidic Yid, who allowed most of his parent body, he accepted them, and most of them had televisions in their homes, going back to YSV all those years. In fact, he told us that he was by Yasifa with a lot of big gedolim, I'm not mentioning names, and they told him, from your kreisen, not Hasidish, and they told him, you may not, we want to get television out of the system, so you shouldn't, he was there, YSV and all of these schools that cater to grandchildren of American immigrants. You cannot accept anymore anybody who has television in their house. So my shver answered, when you, Rabbanim, are going to decide that you will not be Mesader Kedushin by any chasana where the parents have television, I will not accept children whose parents have television, but this is who I'm catering to, and this is my mission. Now, this same father-in-law of mine, who allowed all the TV homes into his school, is on a vada of many other yeshivas, and you will not be allowed into those yeshivas because you drive a car. So I think that there's a lot of diversity here in understanding every metzias, right? I have 5 hours more to say, but I think it's enough.
I just want to say that I feel like there's a difference between the way we talk and the way we view others and the lemaisa. We have to be careful in our schools. We don't say they're in your corners, with all due respect. We are all one family, right? We definitely speak about the different groups in Eretz Yisrael and the soldiers, and how we talk and the mindset that we have trickles down to our children. But, and this is a big but, we take a big achrayus for all the children in our school, and this weighs very heavily. And when there's a situation of a girl who might be a hashpa on other girls in our school. We are not allowed to just, she's an neshama, but so are all the other girls in our school. And I think every principal in this room has a situation where she had a student in her school that really had a negative impact on other girls in a real way. 1 second, I'm not finished. That's right. That's right. And sometimes it was with a great trepidation, and sometimes we regret it afterwards. When you have a mother who calls you and says, I try so hard to keep my house clean, and my daughter has an email address, but I see all the emails. And a girl in her class just emailed her 2 seasons worth of a show that she probably sent to a lot of other girls also. And this is a girl that I know is having a serious hashpah on other girls. It's a question. It's a big question. And it's dinei nefashos, and it's not a question I'm going to don on, but it surely is a question I'm going to put for my vada chinuch. And sometimes we have to send a girl out because we have a whole school that we're achrei for, and we can't deny that.
A black on white lebendige psak. I love a psak van eine was lebt mehr nicht. Could you explain that? I love a mekoiris when people are not alive. The Eibusha created a world where we have to be hachnodik to live rabbanim, but a black and white psak that my shver got, and he's alive and existing and on vaden of it, that when there is a yuchid on one side of the scale and a klal on the other side of the scale, he gave me this guidance, the klal always wins. This is a lebendige psak für uns, nicht für eine Cipher von einer, was nifte geworden 50 Jahre zurück.
Very good point. These are all great points. 1 second. The reason for this discussion is, this is the reason for this discussion, ladies. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has chosen you to take achrayas for his children and light the cave for them. Even if you don't know what to do, and these psukim are very important, and it's all very important, we're not going to get the answers here, but we have to know that there's an earthquake. We have to understand this. So everybody's sharing is very important. If it affects your way of talking to the girl who's being mashpia on others, if it affects you, I have had girls that I've had to let go, and I don't believe in letting them go. But the klal needed them to go. So please, there's no right answer here, but you are achrei for Klal Yisrael. You understand? You are the light. Okay, so we have...
Sorry, I schlepped you across the wall. Oh. So this is a message from a master mechanech, nothing to do with my opinion or my thoughts. I was present, and that was it. And my girls went to Beis Yaakov Borough Park many years ago, and if you were a PTA mother, then you had a breakfast with Rabbi Ehrenreich. And I remember a similar discussion, I don't know if it was my oldest or not the oldest, but it's for sure 30 years ago. And one of the women, and he was talking about, having these kind of children in the school, and one woman raises her hand and she says, I don't understand. This is 30 years ago, not today. Shouldn't we just invite these kids in and show them the way and teach them, and maybe something will be? And his answer was simple. Who's going to take responsibility for that? Kind of like, really? How are you guaranteed with a guarantee? And he didn't. He didn't advocate.
Look, I don't think that we really have answers to what's right and wrong. We have to ask Das Torah whenever we have a situation. But there is something called respect. Respect people, deal with them respectfully. I said it to some ladies yesterday. I have a pediatrician. His name is Itchy Statfeld. He lives in Flatbush. He's a Litvische Erlacha Ben Torah. A lot of Dayana, before they print their Sfarim, sit with him to go through medical issues. He's really amazing. And he told me last week, I was in his office, and he said he made a phone call to a mother. He had to give results of some test. And a child answered the phone and said, Mommy, a guy is off the telephone. And then when the mother got the phone, she was so embarrassed, and she apologized. And he said, don't apologize to me. Teach your child that not everyone that speaks English is a guy. And he said to me that he was once in the mountains. I mean, he's in the mountains every summer. And the Satmar Rebbe, Zechreina Levracha, was there and needed medical help, and they asked him if he would come over to where the Rebbe was. And Satmar is probably like the epitome of the most, right, okay? I'm not Satmar, but I respect everybody for who they are. And when he arrived to the Rebbe's house, there was a hosbacher. You know, there's like a bacher that helps the Rebbe. And he went into the Rebbe and he said, the doctor versteht Yiddish as a fremde Yid. So the Rebbe looked at him the doctor understands Yiddish. He's a from Yid. So when he came in, the Rebbe looked at that hosbacher and he was very annoyed, and he said, "Du ehrliche Menschen that reden nicht Yiddish. Don't judge a person by whether they speak Yiddish or not." So really, I think we just have to respect everybody for who they are, value them as a wonderful, special Yid, and they are different than us in many ways, and we have to protect our children.
Okay, so I have a question. Do you want to go on to the next piece of the shaking earth, or do you want to continue now with this discussion? Okay.
I just want to add one thing based on what she was saying. 20 years ago, I grew up in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Reb Shlomo of Babov used to come visit his sister all the time. I saw the Twerskis. I lived in that world. I'm not Hasidish. My parents are Bali Tshuva. I was born in Atlanta. Rabbi Feldman named me many years ago. Anyway, 22 years ago, I got married. My husband was working at a camp in Monroe, New York. Not Hasidish, just a regular Jewish camp. And I was in special ed, and I went to work in the thank you. And I came home the first day, and again, I have such respect towards Hasidim, really. I came home the first day, and I said to my husband, I walked into the teacher's lounge. I was a teacher. I walked into the teacher's lounge, and there's these ladies, and I couldn't believe the word that came out of one lady's mouth. It was such, I was mortified, and he looked at me and goes, Chaya, we are all human beings. And I think that's the problem, is there's so much judgment in the world. Yes, we have to protect the klal. We cannot sacrifice the klal for the one. We cannot. But there's so much judgment going on in the world. And I was even nervous walking in here before I came. I've tried to come on Amatz several times, just hasn't worked. And Baruch Hashem, I got here. I was nervous because a lot of people told me like the type of people that are going to be in this room, and that's not who I am. I'm proud of who I am. I find that I've grown in my leadership. I really have an insight, but there's so much judgment going on in this world right now. For us, I did when I first walked in. Why? Only because I looked around and I said, oh, I'm not in black and white, but I was judging. I was judging. Do I feel judged now? Am I afraid to get up and say this? Never. Am I still wearing my red nail polish? Yes. Will I always wear my red nail polish? Yes. I do not feel judged, but I inside, because that's human nature. Yeah, that's human nature. So I think that this is bigger than us. The Rabbanim need to take a stand on this. I was at a Torah Masorah conference. Rav Gershom Miller got up. It was very controversial, but he said the most brilliant thing. We need to widen the derech so that less kids fall off. We need to stop judging. We are all Hashem's creations. And Silly is doing amazing work, and there's so many people out there doing amazing work. You all in this room are doing amazing work. And yes, there's so much pressure put on us. I live out of town. Let me tell you, there's a lot of judgment out of town. I grew up out of town. I've only been in out of town communities. We still have judgers. I know, I'm sorry. I welcome you all to move out of town, but you're still going to face the judgment. It really is there.
Thank you. I just one note. I think we were discussing a lot about the anxiety and the klal versus the individual. And I even mentioned that there's dysfunction, and that's a reality that we can't, that's hard. But I also think that when there are challenges, when a kid, like those first time, the second time, the fifth time, the 10th time, maybe we can take an approach, which is, this is an opportunity for chinuch, both for the kid and for the anxious parents that are worried about the influence. Perhaps we can say, they're going to be exposed to influences. We can never, ever protect your kid in bubble wrap. Meaning, I say that to parents all the time. Your kids are going to go out and they're going to meet people at a job and they're going to meet someone somewhere else. Like, I can't put them in bubble wrap. They're going to have exposure. So what conversation are you having in your house when your daughter gets an email with X, Y, and Z? Baruch Hashem, you see the emails, you get to talk about it. It's a conversation that could be had. And I know that over the years, I've gotten a lot of hysteria from parents pointing finger at other people's children. And I think it's right. And I think we can teach the parents in those moments how to be more tolerant and how to build resilience in their kids and how to make their kids spiritually stronger and spiritually more confident so that they can navigate when someone else in the grade says something or does something.
What Rena's point is so strong, that as that fulcrum for the tripod, with our love and our taking a stand, we are mechanech the parents. I'm so glad you brought that up. That's something I'm going to do later if we get to it. But we are mechanech the parents and the teachers. Imagine your input and your impact and your influence. That's how you change Klal Yisrael, by being mechanech them. Thank you for that point.
I'm begging you to listen, okay? I'm begging you. Okay, so I grew up in Borough Park, and I grew up amongst the Hasidim, and I love them so much. And I went to Beis Yaakov, so I'm a product of both. And my parents were born in Vilna, the Vilna Gaon. So they're real Litvaks from Lithuania, Vilna. My last name was Chusid. So I'm a Chusid from Vilna. I was born in Vilna. So I like to say that I was related to the Vilna Gaon because I really don't know. But my parents became from by very, very, very Hasidish people from Pupa. And when I first saw you, yes, I fell in love because the woman that was Makarev, my mother, looks like you. She wore a spitzel, Kleiman from Lamana Chai. And the Rebbetzin Kleiman, they were twin brothers. Hendy, the one that was responsible for my father wearing a black hat and my mother wearing a sheitel. My mother is a doctor. She grew up a scientist. In the Soviet Union, there was no God. Science was God. So the Kleimans were Makar of my parents. I was put into Beis Yaakov of Borough Park. The reason why I'm not Hasidish is because I went to Beis Yaakov, which is a Litvish school, and I was being mechanech in that direction. I love the Hasidim. I have such a tremendous Hakar Satov. I would not be who I am if not for the Hasidim. After all, my name is Esti Chusid. And we think that maybe my father's from Ukraine, so we think maybe we were Hasidim. We don't know. The KGB took that away. The Russian government took that away. But I have to say that the one that taught my son is a laner now. He's a Masamid. He's an incredible Yid. The one who taught him how to lane was Rabbi Kleiman. He had payas. He doesn't look at women. It's a world I don't even chap. But I would go to him every single Shabbos, and the wife would give me homemade cookies, and she wears a spitzel, and it's such a world I don't even chap. But they were so warm. I grew up in their home. Do you understand? And he passed away during COVID. And it's such I love you, Hasidim. I really, really do. But I really do. It's my world. I am who I am because of you. But I'm a product of the Beis Yaakov world. And I have people in my family who are not from. And I love everybody. What you're seeing here is Hasidish, Litvish, Kiruv, everybody. I'm begging you, please. I'm begging everybody, please. Why the long sheitel? I don't know. Would I like to grow one day in it? Yes. But this is who I am now. Am I Hasidish? Yes. Am I Litvish? Yes. Am I Yeshivish? I identify with the Yeshivish community. My sons learn. I wanted my sons to go to college. I went to college. My sons tell me they want to learn for the rest of their lives. Kol hakavod. My grandmother used to ask my husband learned for 7 years after we got married. 7 years. My grandmother, who was not from, said, Yeshua, how are you supporting my granddaughter? What are you doing? What do you mean you learn? What do you learn? And I said, Babushka, Bubby, this is the most beautiful thing in the world. So I guess I'm Yeshivish. I don't know what I am, but I want to tell you, I sacrificed so much. We literally had no money. I work for Shalshalas, it's a Kira school. We get paid 7 months late. We made it, and those are the best years of my life. And now my sons tell me that they want to learn. Kol hakavod, learn. I will do whatever it takes. I will sacrifice. Go learn Torah, whatever it is. My girls go to Beis Yaakov. Go marry learners. I'm Hasidish, I'm Litvish, I'm Yeshivish. I'll say one thing, I'm Toradic. I want to say I'm Toradic. I love the Torah. I ask you, please, let's not judge each other. Please, this discussion is not going to end it. I'm just going to say this. At least when you see your students, tell them about the other side. I understand if you want to protect your own. I chap you. I really do. I'm from Borough Park. I grew up this way. I really, really grew up this way. I chap your mentality because I grew up in Borough Park. I was being carved by the Hasidim, so I chap it. I really do. But at the same, we went to school together, but I want to tell you something. At least do this. At least we have Satmar, Babov, Papa, they all come down to Shalshelis. I spoke in a lot of schools. You know what they say? We are so inspired by your girls. And sometimes the girls come in and I say to my girls, don't judge them. And when the Babova girls come in, you know what I say? Don't cut your hair. Don't look cool. Don't change. We look to you to see what the standards are. We are proud of you. But you don't judge. We are Toradic. We are amazing. We are close to Hashem. Let's respect each other. Don't be me. I won't be. Let's respect each other. Let's stop with the judgment. We're all Toradic. Torah, Torah, Torah.
Thank you so much. So, should we move on? Okay, Feige, can we go to... Wait, Feige, can you just put it to the next? Sippy, the Feige, can you just go to the next thing? I don't know how to do that. Right. But the purpose of this is not to know. The purpose is to understand the ground that we're trying to... Okay, so there's a short piece here from the Malbim. And this is brought by Reb Leib Minzer. I think the Rebbetzin, the Schoonmaker, referred to him last night. He's the Ben Melech, which is an amazing, he died a few years ago. He's an amazing mashpia. I just want to go through because we have to understand this door. As we all agree, we have to understand this door. The conversation we just had really is about this door. And so let's just quickly read through this, and then I want to share something with you and then have a discussion, if you're up for it. Okay, so remember, we're trying to make the ground stable so that we can pull all of our constituents together and help everybody to grow, right? I hope that this discussion helps us to grow. It's like widening our jaw, drop by drop by drop with the little key of quarter turn. We have to understand each other and every yid. This is it. How much time we have left here in this world in America, nobody knows. But we could show HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we are awake and aware and taking responsibility for his children. And we can all work on ourselves. That's the next frame afterwards. We're going to come to some things that we can each take on and understand in order to become the best principles, the best light to Klal Yisrael possible. But first, we're just going to discuss this a little bit. And the Malbim says on the Shlomo HaMelech and Mishlei, Chanoch lanar al pi darko. Everybody knows that. It doesn't mean that whatever. Okay? Gam ki yaskin lo yasur mimena. The issue is we have to be mechanech them so that it goes so deeply that they live their whole lives this way. And I have to just tell you this. One of the asifos that the Rabbanim have that my husband has gone to is the following, and it's scary. It's very scary. It seems that there are a lot of kolalite that come back from 3, 4, 5 years in Eretz Yisrael, where they're learning in great hasmada, beautiful families. They come back to America and they start to work, and slowly but surely things begin to slip. And this has become such a concern for the Rabbanim that they're trying to figure out what to do. How do we strengthen these young couples that come back? I think this is part of it. And listen to what the Malbim says. It's nothing you don't know, but let's really hear what he says. We're all born differently. When you have your own children, you can tell when they're born that there's something different. This one is, ooh, and this one is mellow, right? You see this. Okay. Hashem has prepared this person for something. We have to find out what that is. What has HaKadosh Baruch Hu put into him that I can build? There's one person that's creating this is his umnus, this is what he should be. He has a certain type of personality. This is a midah that's his. How do you tell? How do you know what this child needs? It's what he wants, what pulls him. What pulls him? What is he interested in? He gets involved. This one maybe loves to draw and paint. This one loves to build. You want to look at them. And why is this so important? We're not trying to make them look a certain way now. This is crucial. Crucial. We're not trying to make them look a certain way. We want to give them the inner being, the belief, the strength, the resilience, the knowledge, the korva to Kodesh Baruch Hu, so that when they get old, they will not leave it behind. Too many of our children that have been in yeshivos their whole lives, and Beis Yaakovs and Hasidic schools, I don't know the Hasidic world, I don't know if this is happening there, but I know that it's happening in the rest of the Torah world. We're losing adults. It's not kids off the derech. Gam ki yaskin lo yasor mimena. We have to give it so deep. And that is going to take a very wide road. As she just said, we have to widen the road. The Ben Melech says, Ram de tzarich l'modoy shekeshem sheyesh al pi darko proti l'chol echad ve'echad uklal tzibor ukvutza behetem l'chalek rucham, l'halech, it's written wrong, rucham. The same way that every child has to be understood differently and taught in that way, every group, every kahila, and every door. Here he says, Yeshno gam al pi darko klali shal matzav hador his ames hachinuch lesignon hamatim b'chol dor v'dor. Every door is a child. Our door as a whole. This discussion that we just had now is one person being pulled in different directions. It is not separate people having different ideas. Hear me. We're one, and we're struggling. Did you ever struggle with something inside of you where you're pulled in two directions? You want to do this, but you think, I want to do that. You want to do this, you want to do that. That's a human being. Klal Yisrael is one being. This fragmentation is not the Hasidic and the Litvish and all the different. No, we're one being pulled in different directions. And our door is one being. We have to get that. The pain I feel in the struggle is me. Who you are is me. We're not separate. This is crucial to know. But, says the Ben Melech, Tz'ilach be'ikvei hatzon. Klal Yisrael has always been mechanech and taught in different ways. I'm sorry, not different ways, in the way of the Avos. What, we're going to give up our emes, our Mesorah? Well, we have to balance this. We're the fulcrum for this too. I understand this door. I understand this child. But I'm going to give you a stark example, please. I hope I can say it. I think I shared it once before at lunch at an Amatz thing, but this is to me, is classic. I'm going to say this very quickly, and then I'm going to add something about Chanala. She's our next girl. I'm going to say this very quickly. I was once having a workshop, a talk with the girls. We had an assembly. We're talking about a certain issue. There was a girl in the school that came from a broken family, and in the middle of this talk, she raises her hand and she says, well, Mrs. Feldman, what does the Torah say about homosexuality? I didn't know what to say, but we did have a thing in our school. Maybe I should have said, let's talk about it separately, but there were too many kids who went, they want to know right away. So I said, my understanding of the Torah is that the Torah says that it is forbidden. There are people who have an atiyah to that, but the Torah does not allow it. So we don't say we'll never talk to them. We don't say they're not good people. We still treat them with love and respect, but we understand that it's usher. Okay, I think that was a reasonable answer. What else am I supposed to say? The girl comes to my office afterwards and she wants to talk to me. Her name was Shoshana. Shoshana comes in and she sits down and she looks at me and she says, Mrs. Feldman, you disgust me. That's what she said to me. Now, was that chutzpahdik? Very. Am I going to come down on her for being chutzpahdik? No, of course not. So obviously, she's coming from somewhere painful. The only answer I could really give her with as much understanding and love as I could was the following. Shoshana, I have to tell the girls that because that's what the Torah says. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu put me in this position to teach you what the Torah says. I'm not saying they're bad people. I'm not saying that we have to hate them. But I have to say the emes of the Torah. I have to say the emes of the Torah. This is what we're dealing with. And remember, Shoshana is you, and Shoshana is me. Please, we're not separate beings. We are all one. This is my inner struggle. Everything we talked about is me. It's you being pulled apart by the truths. So this is our door. I'd like to talk about Chanala for a minute, okay? There is so much to talk about this door, but let me give you what happened with her. This just happened last week, okay? She's a 10th grader, and she's having a very hard time, very, very hard time. She has 2 friends in the 12th grade that have been very supportive to her. They take her out at night. They both drive. They drive around for hours. And she texts them late at night, and she says, I want to die. I don't want to live anymore. I want to die. I want to die. I want to die all night long. They get scared. This just came to the light. They just shared this. And they go and they pick her up and they drive around, and she sobs and cries literally for hours. And one of the 12th graders said to me, I came home one night after driving her around and she was crying so much and I was just holding her. She said, my sweatshirt was so wet, I had to hang it out to dry. That's how wet it was from her tears. So they got her, they told her, why don't you speak to Mrs. Feldman? She agreed to speak to me. And I just met with her last week. And she's telling me, her parents were both A students and they're disappointed in her and they don't understand her. I had anyway been working with the mother a few years ago. I saw she just does not get it. I tried. She just couldn't get it. Anyway, the point is, at one point I said to the girl, so Chanala, which is not her real name, when you're crying and sobbing at night, what are the thoughts you're having? What is the biggest thing that you're thinking about? She says, Hashem is so mean. I have such a hard life. Okay, let's stop there for a second. I want to say something else. When my father was a child, he lived many years in Eretz Yisrael in Tveria, and he went to Cheder in Tveria. And sometimes we would ask him what was Cheder like. He would say, we went to Cheder early in the morning, and we stayed all day long in Cheder. Till what time? He would say, 7:30. We were shocked. Oh, you stayed in Cheder till 7:30. Did you bring food with you? Had you eat lunch? Did you eat supper? He said, sure, we brought food. And I remember saying, what did you have for lunch? And he said, we had bread and onions. And I said, and what did you bring along for supper? He said, onions and bread. Okay, that's, let's say, in the late 1920s. Come to 2026, a girl lives in a newly built house, 6 children, every child has their own room. The parents take them on ski trips. They go out west to the mountains, they go skiing. Her mother took her to Lakewood to do shopping, to buy clothes together. And this little girl says to me, Hashem is so mean, I have such a hard life. And I think to myself, who had the easier life? My father, who had bread and onions and bread. Oh, and sometimes they picked the sabra from the tree. Or this little Chanala. Who has the harder life? And I think this brings to us an understanding of what is going on in this door. You know, yesterday we were talking about entitlement. I don't know if I would call it entitlement. I think I would call it emptiness. Emptiness. You know, Dr. David Lieberman, who Rebbetzin Schoolmaker was speaking about last night, he gives a description of how the things get into us that he calls ego. I call it the different voices. A human being is given this neshama. When we live in line with what the neshama wants, we have self-esteem and we're at peace because we know we're living according to how we're supposed to be. When we do something wrong, we have distanced ourselves from the neshama, and now there's a void. When that void is there, it has to be filled. It is going to be filled with something because we cannot live with a void. We are watching a door that doesn't know how to live or how to hear the voice of their neshama, and we have to teach them, because if they can't hear that voice, the void is so big and empty that the anxiety, the depression, the desire for things, then the desire for something to make me feel better, and then you've got the drugs, and you've got the misbehavior. We have to teach them how to hear that neshama. Otherwise, what do? Excuse me. So we were talking about fragmentation, and I think the fragmentation of Klal Yisrael, where all of us are distanced from our neshamos. We have to learn. Thank you so much. I already made a bracha before on the water, so I'm going to. Can you turn to Feige? Yeah, yes. Liba?
About how their most productive afternoon is maybe shopping or something like that. And I often think about this and look at the soldiers, the chayalim, and you look at them and there's a shine on their faces. Whatever part of the spectrum you're on, you can't help but notice that they go for months without sleeping in a bed, without a shower. They're not at home with their family. They're not chilling on the couch and eating pizza. They're not, and the look on their faces is such a shine, as if they are so in line with their mission in life, that we have to become soldiers. Whatever our version is, we have to develop in our kids that they are soldiers like that. Those chayalim, that's their role. We have to be able to be in line with it. And you're so right. The emptiness is so sad. It's so sad.
Here's the thing. How do we overcome this emptiness that they're all experiencing? Which is the whole piece of the Sheish Mitzvos Timidios, the work that we have to do. So to close, I'd like to make some suggestions for how we can do this. We're going to skip a little bit of the discussion part, chop it a little bit short, but this is very important. So now we went from macro vision of where Klal Yisrael is holding to micro vision. What can I do? What can I do to be in touch with my neshama and thereby be able to be mashpia properly on parents, teachers, and students? This is a very crucial understanding. We have to become a principal from the inside out. It will never fully work if we're just doing the job, even with the best intentions. unless I am working deeply, authentically, continuously, I cannot become that model for hearing the voice of my neshama and for healing the brokenness of Klal Yisrael. And I believe that this can happen. I have 5 suggestions, just briefly going through. Number 1, everybody here wants to serve Hashem and wants to help Klal Yisrael. But I think it's very chashuv to sit down and write, what do I care about the most in the world? Who am I? What are my values? What do I think is my mission? And the same way my father said to me, good Rabbanim are the light of Klal Yisrael. And that hit the nail that enabled me to go on for all those years. Find the thing that inspires and motivates you, that you can say to yourself, I want to be a light to Klal Yisrael. I want to heal the brokenness of our entire people, which is one. It's one people. It's me. And when you have that line, then when things get hard and you get that email that makes you feel like you just want to lie on the floor and give up, you think of that line. You say to yourself, I'm the light of Klal Yisrael. This doesn't matter. I will continue. I will take a stand. And by the way, anybody who takes a stand is inviting opponents. You are inviting people to get angry at you, to argue with you. And so what? If you have a mission, nothing gets in the way of that mission. So that's number 1. Who am I for Klal Yisrael? Who am I for HaKadosh Baruch Hu? What matters to me more than anything in the entire world that I'm willing to give my life for? That's your mission. That's what you wake up to. That's what happens in the middle of the day when you feel like everything's exploding and you're failing and nothing's working. What do you mean? I have a mission. I can be a Kli Kibul. So that's very important. Number 2, this is not about me in any way, shape, or form. I am a servant. I am a shepherd. The power and necessity of humility. I don't know better than anybody else. I will listen to Das Torah, and I will follow my mission, and I will beg HaKadosh Baruch Hu for help every minute of the day. I will constantly beg him. Before this student walks in the world, I'll ask for help. I know you all do this. I know you all do this. We ask Hashem for help every minute. Number 3, Chinuch Atzmi, the Ben Melech, when he finishes that discussion about what Chinuch is and the Kelim and the Drachim for every door, he says, this idea of being mechanech, a person al pi darko, applies to every one of us. We have to figure out, where do I need strengthening? Where do I need chinuch? And he says that a person has to work on this ad zikna v'seva, continuously, never stopping. But what? I mean, I'm a melumedes, I'm a mechaneches, I've been teaching for so many years and I spend so much time on this. No matter what, I have to improve my connection to Kodesh Baruch Hu. I have to learn how to hear the voice of my neshama, which is covered over by many, many, many voices, even the best of us. I have to take the time, make the effort to discover what my neshama is saying to me, and I can access that through knowing my mission. And then the number 4, I think that every principal should be required to learn Tomer Devorah. Tomer Devorah teaches us the 13 midas of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and how to emulate him. It is a lifetime learning. You can't just change a midah. You have to go deep and find out why you have that midah and what are the voices that are confusing you, and you have to learn to oppose them, and you need a chevra of people that are working. How can we be a principal without learning Tomer Devorah? How? How can you possibly deal with a child that has problems? What? It's very good. But even reading it is not going to do it for you. I'm telling you, you have got to work on this with somebody else. Because all of us are required, it is a mitzvah d'oraisa, to imitate the Ribbono Shel Olam. It is a mitzvah d'oraisa. V'halachta bidrachav. So anytime I have a feeling of resentment against a Jew, or a feeling of judgment against a Jew, I am going against a mitzvah d'oraisa. And yes, as Rabbi Chursky said, it's my first reaction. I don't believe it always has to be your first reaction. I think if you work enough on this, you don't have that first reaction over time. It takes a lifetime. We shouldn't theoretically have that first reaction. We don't have to be small, which is the other thing I want to say. Please don't believe your Talmidos who think they're too small to become the giants they're supposed to be. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I can't daven like her. I don't even daven. Please persuade them of their greatness. And you can only do that if you're working on your own greatness all the time and recognize that that comes from HaKadosh Baruch Hu too. This is deep, deep, deep work. And we are not putter from this work. If we're the light of Klal Yisrael, we can't let that candle go out. And if we don't constantly relight it, the candle will go out. We are chayav. We are achra'i. We must remember our own greatness. And then the last point, which is so important, and this is what I've seen works. Create buy-in. Get your parents to hear, that mission that I said it's going to be for me and for the school? Teach it to everybody involved. The board should know the vision and the mission. Your parents, explain to them, this is what we're trying to create. Your children are great. Our expectations for them and our hope for them is up here, and we're going to help them. We're going to support them till they become the best people they can become. We're going to make a structure for this to happen. We're going to love them. We're going to expect from them. We're going to teach them responsibility. We're going to teach them that they can grow step by step by step and then make it happen. The kids that have learning difficulties, give them some success and then move on to more success and move on to more success. Yes, this is very hard. It's harder than just making rules. It means thinking every minute about what is going to be the best thing to teach. Convince this kid that she is a giant. Buy-in. The kids will buy into this vision if you describe it to them. They want you to hold them to a standard. Otherwise, you're giving up on me. I just spoke to a few high school girls a couple of weeks ago who said, all of our teachers say this. You have so many nisyonos in this door. This door is just, there's no responsibility and da-da-da. They said, what are we supposed to do when everyone's telling us how rotten we are? And people are trying to encourage them by telling them what nisyonos there are. We have to realize how they hear everything. What a schus you have to be the door before Mashiach that's going to take a stand for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And no matter what comes at you, you'll be prepared to push away the arrows and persuade them that they are giants. Let them be proud of working hard instead of giving up right away. And we believe them and we believe the parents. The parents think they're small. The teachers think they're small. I can't handle this class. Yes, you can if you'll work on yourself and be big enough to understand HaKadosh Baruch Hu you'll be a kli kibul and he'll help you. And you work until you get it right. And it's not about you. You're a servant. You're a shepherd. Do some chinuch atzmi. They cannot stop working. We can't afford to stop working for a minute because the cosmic effects of everything we're doing are so giant. We have to walk out of here remembering we can't believe in our own smallness or in the smallness. This girl who told me Hashem is so mean, my life is so hard, she's not a good student. So I'm trying to get her to get some psychological testing, educational testing, get somebody to work with her. Her parents don't want to hear anything negative about her because after all, they're high achievers. But they have to be mechunach. And if she can get a taste of success, she won't want to die all the time. She wants to die because she has nothing to live for. When we create buy-in, it builds unity. It builds connection between parent and teacher and student. It builds pride. It builds motivated teachers. Kavod, Rav Shlomo Wolbe, everybody knows what is kavod? Being megala the greatness of the other person. Are we being megala the greatness of every student and every teacher and every parent? To say things to them, I know you understand this. It's so hard to be this way with your child, but I think if we do this as a team, she is going to really step up to the plate. We're going to see tremendous things from her. Now, this takes time, and it takes effort, And it takes a lot of thought and love and determination and commitment. But if we are the light of Klal Yisrael, that's the commitment we need to make. We can't rest. We can't ever, ever rest. But v'kovei Hashem yachlifu koach. HaKadosh Baruch Hu helps those who turn to him and hope from him. He will make things happen. And you know, I just watching Rena, who I knew in the very first Amatz get together, and see what happened. She ended up building a school. Same thing happened to me. I built a school. I didn't build that school. HaKadosh Baruch Hu did everything. I wrote so many plays over the years. I did not write one single play. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wrote every word, every song. I know it because I saw it coming through me. I didn't do it. I don't know what happened in Atlanta and how it happened, but it happened. It's a community of Torah and growing people. And 40 years ago, they didn't want to have a preschool that was being mechanech children. It wasn't us. So we have to be kli kibul, and we have to work with humility every minute, because without us, there's no Klal Yisrael growing. It's only us few. So Michelle and Tzipi and Liba, you are helping us. You're lighting the flame. That's what you're doing. You're lighting the flame. And ladies, we can't let it go out. And thank you so much for giving me your time. Thank you.